wrestling fanatics, welcome back to another exciting installment of the 10 count. I am the Art of the Beat of the V, Richard Bronson Vickrey. On the other side of the screen, my main man, John Paz. Paz, hey, trying to record this episode. We were kind of like Charlotte Flair, 0 for 3 in attempts, but hey, it was all due to the flooding here in Southwest Ohio. Man, it has been stiffer than Big E's neck, but brother, we are back.
Nice. A couple of tie-ins to some of the topics today. That's good. Nice. I like that.
Absolutely, my friend. Excited to sit down with you. Don't apologize to you and our continually growing audience here for the 10 count, man. People have been loving it. It's just been the weather here in the Cincinnati tri-state area absolutely wicked, dealing with in just devastating floods. But we are back, ready to jump back into it. Hey, what better way, what better place to start off, because we are just 2 weeks away as we continue on the road to WrestleMania. Paz, we kind of talk about this each and every week. Where is your excitement level? Do you feel like you should be where you are 2 weeks out to the big event?
I don't know. I feel like I'm maybe different than some other people I've talked to. They weren't as excited. I was kind of excited. I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of feeling it. Maybe the build hasn't been as great because it's been longer than it normally is. Usually Mania would have been right now already, or
We
would have
might have been
already happened.
talking about the Raw after Mania.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that probably is hurting it maybe a little bit to some people. But to me, I don't know. I don't mind. I like the additions of LA Knight versus Fatu. I like the additions of Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. So I don't know. I'm into it, some of the build. I'd rather not have Seth Rollins in that match, rather just be Punk versus Roman one-on-one. But I don't know. I've been kind of digging it so far. I'm into it. I'm sold.
I like that you bring up the triple threat there. Maybe are they pushing too much just to get that star power? If anything, that is the big draw that has grabbed my attention. I do like the little twists and turns, the history between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, all those kind of gears intertwining together. And then you have that wild card of Paul Heyman. I am liking this undercard. I wish that maybe we would have got a little more development to get some of that storyline, get us a little more of that steam behind them there. But I think if I had to go with a scale of 10, I'm probably sitting right now at a 6.5, 7, which I think is a good spot because they got 2 weeks to wow me, to really sell me on this thing.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Maybe Tiffy time and Charlotte maybe get you interested.
Hey, that was one. It's for me, hey, Char Char, my girl, all these years, when she's involved. Absolutely. I actually was having some trouble getting into this one because of the characters. I didn't, for the longest time, I didn't see any reason why I should cheer for either one of these ladies, and especially Tiffany Stratton, who I think is completely clueless to what her character is, and them trying to just get me to root for a Valley girl when they're both just complete bitches.
Right, they're both heels. To me, this was just a horrible matchmaking. I didn't like the booking. I just didn't like any of the way it was booked. It was just terrible until the train wreck that was their face-to-face segment with Wade Barrett right in the middle. Then I was like, man, this is so bad. It's good. It just obviously got real. They were really shooting on each other. Charlotte was bothered because she got booed, and that obviously played a factor into kind of the way she reacted and acted as well. But now I'm interested just because I was like, wow, that was such a great train wreck of them just like shooting at each other off the hip, off the cuff, off the script. So now I'm kind of interested in that match just because they took something that was just terrible and just started shooting on each other out of nowhere and created, to me, actual interest in the match when there was zero before.
Hey, it runs one of my favorite Seinfeld episodes, Meow, catfight episode. That's what we've kind of got here. This is where now we suddenly have an entire fan base, if it be the casuals, if it be those inside the bubble, the smarks of the smarks, anywhere in between. They are definitely interested because guess what? Shit just got real. And that's what professional wrestling is, when its absolute best, is when it can blur those lines, walk that tightrope right down the middle of it. And I know they've edited some things out here. There's been some people backstage, that maybe went a little too far. Guess what? Hey, it's all fair in love, what is it, Love and War?
Yes.
So
Yep.
so there we go. Hey, bring it on. Let's just play into this. Let's lean into this hard over the next 2 weeks. Let's not step back. And that's my biggest fear. They're going to try to reel this thing way back in and completely kill any momentum they have with it.
Yeah, because they edited off some of their comments when they did a replay of it, apparently. So,
Yeah, they completely cut the 0 for 3, all the references to
yeah.
Charlotte's failed divorce. And you know, right now, hey, Charlotte knows this business. She is born into this thing. She has to have thick skin. If anyone should have been, hey, let's lean into this, let's roll with it. It should have been the Flair family. And speaking of who kind of did weigh in on this, even her dad came came, I would say, to a rescue, but, had some comments, weighed in on it there. He wasn't really so in favor of it, which surprised me. He knows where there's money to be made. He also knows where there's potentially money to be made, and that would be maybe his involvement or at least an appearance at WrestleMania, especially around everything with the Night 2 main event with Cody defending against John Cena, who's chasing history himself.
Yeah, you kind of thought there was a possibility, but he just came out and said he's technically still under an AEW contract, so he cannot be at WrestleMania. So
Were
he
you
will not
surprised
be.
by that?
I was actually really surprised because I didn't think he was still under AEW contract. And why is he still under an AEW contract? If he is under an AEW contract, how come they haven't used him?
Well, his,
The greatest, maybe most famous wrestler of all time. Why
well, I
wouldn't
mean,
you use him?
but let's look at what his involvement was there. He had the Woo Energy deal. They were getting advertisements there. It would have
Yep.
a segment, a match each and every show. That kind of just disappeared out of nowhere. And then Flair himself's last appearance over a year ago was at Revolution 2024 for the Sting retirement. Is the last time that we saw Flair involved at AEW, and he kind of just not even a ride off into the sunset. He just disappears on us, and now we get news that he can't be involved at WrestleMania because of the contract. Would you like to see Flair there? Could he add anything to
Well, with
the
the Cena
aura?
thing, yeah, because if he hits his record that Cena's trying to break. So I think that, and then obviously the Charlotte Flair stuff too, he could add it. It just doesn't make sense that he's under AEW contract. That's just so weird. I feel like just buy him out or whatever, and he should be a WWE Legends contract for for the rest of his life. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I wonder though if there would be a little bit of worry of Flair trying to make that too much about him, because he also in some other interviews was going back to the, well, technically I'm a 21
Yeah,
time champion,
yeah.
throwing all the asterisks out there. He's gonna fight that till the day he dies, and trying to stop or halt WWE from rewriting that history. Paz, you had mentioned some editing in the Tiffany Stratton and the Charlotte Flair confrontation on SmackDown. Some more editing this past week from WWE's. It appears that they have edited some comments from a special guest that they had when Kill Tony. He was on Raw, the roast comedian extraordinaire, kind of ruffling some feathers amongst the fans of WWE with his appearance and some of his comments, especially the one directed towards Big E, like I said, that has been edited, where Tony had mentioned that Michael Cole was stiffer than Big E's neck. What'd you think about Kill Tony's appearance on Raw?
I like him. He's funny. I've seen roast with him. I've seen the Trump stuff with him. And obviously the Puerto Rican joke, all that other stuff. None of that bothers me. I just I think that he's funny. Just on Raw, he just wasn't good. Out of place. Out of character, I guess you could say. The Big E joke was, it is what it is, and Big E. They even got Big E to comment on it. And he kind of didn't even sell it. You know what I mean? He didn't one
That
way or another.
surprised.
Yeah, he kind of didn't care one way or another, which is good, on him. But to me, terrible joke, not even funny at all. And not even that I'm offended. It just wasn't even funny. It was stupid.
Well, you go back. The joke itself, when I heard it in the when before it got edited out there, I chuckled a little bit there. But you have to know what Toconi and what that product is all about.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just before we hit record here, I was watching the new special on Netflix, and just as they do for every show, every product that they put out there, they let you know. It's just not a warning that you might be offended. You will be offended. There is nothing PC about their programming, about the product they put out. I am a huge fan. I felt a little let down by his appearance on Raw because I thought maybe they pulled him back a little bit. I thought some of the jokes with Cole. They were kind of some, some old school, maybe the fifth grader, the six-year-old in me is going to chuckle about those, but I wanted him to really get in there, really lay into the product. Obviously, he's there, as a way to promote his Netflix special. He's going to be hosting the roast of WrestleMania. A lot of people still disappointed we're not going to get that over WrestleMania weekend, but damn, I know there's going to be cameras there. Eventually, we are going to get some clips, some form of a release from that. But I wonder if that is because it's just, again, WWE wanting to control that content.
It was a swing and a miss, though, as far as Keltoni on Raw. Swing and a
Yeah.
miss.
Yeah,
Sure.
and again, not because we found me that I found it offensive in any way. It wasn't up to par with the standard. I wanted to be offended. I wanted there to be much more outrage, and it fell way short of what I expected.
I've heard a million more better jokes from him. Yeah, he's done better.
Yes. Well, speaking about outrage, it's been the talk of the WWE Universe for a few weeks now. Wanted to get your thoughts here, Paz. Of course, the El Grande Americano, we know he is going to WrestleMania, this upstart that has just bust onto the scene in WWE, going to have a big moment on the grandest stage against arguably the greatest luchador of all time. A lot of the I would say a lot. I'm not going to say a lot. I'm going to say the very vocal minority, easily offended wrestling fans, not so big on Grande Americano.
Yeah, El Grande Americano. I love it. Obviously, it's Chad Gable, but we're gonna maybe
What?
have a little.
Chad?
Maybe gonna have a
Spoiler
little
alert,
tease.
please,
Yes.
please.
But maybe we're gonna have a little tease that they're gonna have it be somebody else. Maybe Kurt Angle shows up or something. Maybe they might tease that it might not actually be Gable. But I think this is great. Gable's awesome. He deserves a WrestleMania match. Rey Mysterio's awesome. He deserves obviously a WrestleMania match times a million. He's one of the greatest of all time. I think this is gonna be great. I love it. I love the global wrestling kind of throwback with the mask and put the weapon in the hood, which I know is an assassin's thing. But to me, I was thinking of, even my buddy messaged me about it, was thinking when Dark Patriot did it in Global, because Bruce Pritchard probably from his Global days probably like, oh, it'd be cool if we did a little bit of throwback to the 90s and we do a little Global thing with Dark Patriot, El Grande Americana. So I thought that was kind of a cool little thing. I know, I love it. I love kind of like mid-card stuff that it could be elevated, but it's just you doing something. It's not just, it's like Russo style. You give everybody a gimmick, everybody has a storyline. Like it's a level of importance more so than when Vince was booking. Vince would be like, "Oh, Shorty G, go out there and have no storyline. You have a match with this guy, or whatever." It's just so stupid. So this I actually like. It's funny. He actually did the thing where he's trying to go back and learn Lucha Libre, and he's going to learn how to destroy Lucha Libre. I don't know, I love everything about El Grande Americano.
My only complaints with this thing is they again rushed this thing. I wish we'd have got some vignettes of Americano making his way through Mexico back
Could
to
have done more with it.
to the United States. Some great vignettes to really get us involved with the character. Hey, but again, the more uncomfortable that it makes a portion of this audience, the more invested in the bigger the pop you're going to get from RBV. And I tell you, someone who is not popping big time for pro wrestling these days, the often outspoken Bret Hart, speaking on AEW. I'm going to put that on Bret Hart on. Had the caps lock on there.
Yep.
The Hitman sharing some thoughts on All Elite Wrestling. I'll go ahead and I've got that here. Hart says, I find that, especially AEW, that I find that they're mostly actors trying to pretend to be wrestlers, and they ought to get on with the real wrestling and just quit acting so much. Pause. What do you think about the Hitman's thoughts here?
I know what he means. I know where he's coming from. People kind of maybe misconstrued it, or maybe they didn't understand what he said, or maybe he didn't say it exactly how he wanted to say it, but I know what he meant. the guys today are almost seem like they're cosplaying wrestlers, and I know some of the guys in AEW definitely it kind of seems that way. Like it doesn't really seem like it's a legit contest. It just seems like they're kind of going through the motions or just rehearsing like a scene or whatever. So I know what he means. He doesn't necessarily mean like acting like Kirk Douglas style. You know what I mean? He just means like they're not really wrestlers like a Kurt Hennig or a Bret Hart, Dynamite Kid, those gritty guys where it just seemed like it was a contest or a Vader or a Foley, where it just seems like it's a real contest, where it seems like it's a match. It just seems like AEW has some guys that are just cosplaying wrestling, almost doing a routine together instead of it making it look like an actual wrestling contest, a la who we put over big time Roman Reigns, who it always seems like he goes above and beyond and he's working hard. He's doing these great old school type matches, and it doesn't necessarily look like it's completely rehearsed.
Well, and again, I think you just got to piggyback on what you were saying there. What Brett is talking about is a true, you know, that disbelief. To be able to buy into what you're seeing as an actual combat contest and telling that using that physicality to tell that story to get those characters over instead of that floor routine. And a lot of it here with AEW, if this is acting, this is straight to DVD acting. I mean, I could have even let it slide if we're getting blockbusters. If these were award-winning performances, but this is straight to DVD.
It's like those awesome Hogan movies. Remember in the '90s in TNT, he's going to the mountain or whatever. Those
Hey,
awesome
also,
Hogan
in that same interview, your boy Brett taking a shot at your main man Hogan, saying that the
yes,
referees they emulate him more than the Hawkster. So hey, in the same breath, is Brett shooting himself in the foot there, saying, "Hey, these kids are trying to emulate him," but then he's saying they're not getting it.
right, true. Salt on Devil's Island, by the way, is what I meant to say for the Hogan movie. But yeah, that's interesting. He had some interesting things to say about the Hulkster.
There you go. Well, old school versus new school. I'm going to leave the Brett thing there, but the old school versus new school. I'll let you kind of lay this one out. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. Of course, we are talking Swerve Strickland. He's catching some of that Harlem Heat there, Paz.
I kind of just don't understand. I thought they kind of squashed the beef, and then Swerve at the pay-per-view after all that stuff that was said between them, he's like F Booker T, and then he went back at Booker T again. But I thought they had squashed the beef. I guess they didn't squash it at all.
Well, yeah. So go back, Paz. Kind of lay the groundwork of how we got to the Dynasty cheap shot.
Well, I honestly was trying to like figure out like what was like the starting point of it, because I know that they had the conversation. They were talking a lot about like racism and different things like that, but I don't know what the actual like initial
So
starting point was. Though.
basically, what you've had here is I don't know, a generational it kind of fault in conversation, where I guess Booker T had taken some issues with some things Swerve was doing PR wise and how he was representing, being a strong African American male in a professional wrestling industry. And Swerve took a little offense to that, shot back and pointed out some of the things that Booker T allowed to happen to him over the years. If it would be booking decisions or even, the infamous scene where Vince McMahon drops the N bomb and that Booker did nothing to really, stick up for their culture. So all that. So the back and forth, they had some things out there. And then at Dynasty going off, Swerve is addressing the audience, thinking to kind of send the crowd home happy after maybe, a questionable finish there that the fans were upset over. Whose house? Swerve's house. And then he just, oh, by the way, F Booker T to get that cheap pop out of him. So we come right back to it. I'm interested, even seeing these two going back and forth at it, obviously working for two different companies. It's kind of hard to get a big payoff of this thing. Love to see these guys come together to try to elevate, professional wrestling for every minority, or teach a lesson to all the fans about how to get along here.
I feel like I don't know. Swerve maybe talking out of turn a little bit here. You got to respect the elders, respect the guys that came before you. I'm not a big fan of kind of disrespecting that. And how does he know what Booker T said behind the scenes to Vince? Is like, cut that out, or don't say that, or how does he know? I'm sure he didn't know ahead of time Vince was going to say whatever, because Vince kind of just does whatever the hell he wants to do. And I doubt there's a production meeting where Vince tells Booker T exactly what he's going to say. That's just not how it kind of rolls sometimes with Vince. I can't see him putting that in the script either. You know what I mean? So you, you just don't know. But knowing Booker the way we know Booker, he kind of can stand up for himself. You know what I mean? Kicking Batista's ass, and
I
Batista
was
ain't
going to
no
say,
small guy. You know what I
maybe it's a
mean?
good thing that they are in two different companies right now, because I think Swerve would be catching some hands still from Booker T.
And like the Steiner brothers, right? Like two of the toughest guys ever. They said like, don't mess with Booker T and Stevie Ray. Like they're talking to, and so many guys have mentioned. Conan has mentioned. So many guys have mentioned how tough Booker T is. Swerve, I haven't heard anything good or bad, whether he's tough or not. But it just seems like I don't know if that's the kind of tree you want to go barking up. You know what I mean? One of the toughest guys in the biz that beat up a guy literally 3 times your size like he was nothing. So I mean, that might not be the right guy to kind of say that to. But kind of speaking on Swerve for a second, I know he kind of said that to kind of get the crowd pop because they were so upset that Moxley won. I thought it, to a lot of people, it was a foregone conclusion that they're going to end this title run that was being so bad. But once Tony Khan writes that in the book, man, that Moxley's holding the title for a certain period of time, he's not erasing it. He's not changing it. He's not, he's got Moxley in that book for a while.
He absolutely does. I do have that down for our next record to kind of compare the reigns, no pun intended there, of John Moxley and Roman Reigns. I did want to talk to you. So a little teaser for an upcoming episode to stick with us.
Yes, and that's funny. I sent you that. I forget who the hell said it, but I sent you that little clip. Is he the worst champion? Is Moxley the worst champion? But that's funny, or the worst main eventer in the last 5 years. So interesting.
I need a little time to try to defend my Cincinnati boy.
I know. I was going to say, people that want to argue that we're not going to argue at that one, I guarantee we will argue. I can guarantee that.
You'll see some time to prepare for a defense.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why we pushed that court date out. The defense needed a little more extra time to get some evidence together.
But on this one, you're going to take Swerve, and I'm going to take Booker T for this one.
Now I'll go with Booker T. I'm old school, baby. So the young dog. I love Swerve. I think he is a huge, bright future. If anything, I think this is more of a reason that he needs some guidance from Booker T to truly learn from what Booker T experienced, the things that he went through when. And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist today, but there was a much deeper, trench for racism in professional wrestling that these guys had to overcome. And it is individuals like Booker T that have opened up so many doors, built so many bridges for the likes of a Swerve that I do truly believe should be the one carrying All Elite Wrestling going forward. And another swing and a miss for Tony Khan, not pivoting from the Death Rider plan, not because it's a bad program, because Swerve is money for the future of All Elite Wrestling. Unfortunately, I don't believe they see it that way. Thinking about money and futures for companies right down the road from me in Louisville, Kentucky, the fame, the historic, the legendary Ohio Valley Wrestling has some new owners. It looks like the Morley Sports Management Group is going to be taking over operations beginning May 1st. What's very interesting about this, Paz, is the Morley Sports Management Company. They're based out of Europe. So an overseas investor taking a company from here and down the street in little Louisville, Kentucky.
Interesting. This is the third time, right? The third sale within the last couple of years after Al Snow purchased him from Danny Davis. So kind of interesting to see what's on track for OVW. More shows because they this past year after Wrestlers on Netflix. Obviously WWE saw that. Yeah, right, huge stakes, but obviously WWE kind of took that success and got Raw on Netflix. So that kind of outlet kind of helped WWE, but still, I mean, that was great. They did do a tour over this past year, but not as maybe as many dates as people would have thought, or maybe some not as many big venues as people might have thought. But it's just one of those things where I wonder where OVW is headed now. Is it going to be bigger, better? Are they going to be putting more money into the product? Are they going to be traveling more? Like, what's going on with OVW? Because this is the third kind of ownership change, if you will.
Absolutely. I think what's big about this, though, for the company, as you said, it is in independent wrestling, it is a struggle to produce a profit. But I think, there is good signs that somebody, as you said, it has been a quick change of the at the top of the chain there of ownership, but at least individuals are willing to step up and continue to invest. This to me, this has big home run potential all over it, especially for an international growth. As we look at WWE just coming back from the European tour, you look at the gates, the enthusiasm, smashing success. AEW when they go overseas, always a big draw for that company. Even in TNA wrestling record numbers when they go across the drink. So this is going to open OVW to an entirely new market. It'll be interesting to see if they go over there for some extended tours. Maybe we get maybe a second school of sorts overseas. A lot of potential, a lot of things to keep your eyes on.
For sure. And Al Snow had a school over there. So obviously he's very, very familiar with the UK.
Wow. Okay. You're educating me here. Okay. So I didn't know that.
Wrestling Academy. Yeah. He had a wrestling academy over there. Yeah. Yep.
Very, very nice. So yeah, just something. And I've been talking to a few of those, as I said, that regularly, that are here in my backyard, that make the trip down there regularly. It seems that there is a great deal of excitement amongst the current staff that are there about the potential going forward, bigger investors, international growth. Absolutely has to be seen as a positive here for OVW.
What do you
But
got? This is something that I'm very interested in.
Yeah, possible. Interested in. This is always a hot topic amongst professional wrestling fans, especially when we get close to WrestleMania, and it kind of going on with our theme as we get built towards the showcase of the Immortals. We're looking at great involvements in WrestleMania history. We've talked matches. We've talked the entrances. We've done a few other things there. How about this one? It's, again, always a great debate, but celebrities at WrestleMania. Haas, who do you got for the best celebrity involvement or appearance at a WrestleMania?
There's a lot of them, and I think there's a lot of good ones, but I stuck to two that I was thinking of that really stuck out first that I thought were the best. Mr. T, obviously WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2, but I got to go Mr. T because main event, first ever WrestleMania, you have to hit a home run, you have to hit out of the park. Teamed up with the Hulk Hogan versus Piper and Orndorff. I mean, Madison Square Garden, huge.
Set the stage for, the crossover appeal that they were looking for at the time. One of the biggest stars in television on the film, teaming up with the biggest name of professional wrestling at this brand new, amazing event that they put together.
And then kind of 1A, 1B, if you will. This would be the second one. Mike Tyson, WrestleMania 14.
Good ones.
Sure.
Two good ones. I mean, a lot of people really credit, and you've even heard people inside of the companies that Tyson getting involved was a huge game changer when it came to the Monday Night Wars.
Yes, huge.
Wow. Okay, that's two good ones there, brother. Mr. T, Mike Tyson. All right. I was gonna guess yours because I had a graphic ready for you. I had this ready for you. I thought you were gonna say
Bad Bunny. Oh, Bob Uecker.
Bob Uecker. I thought that's where you were gonna go, Bob Uecker. But two great choices there, Paz. Of course, you know where I'm going. We stand right here in the real Queen City.
Pete Rose.
The Hit King, Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose. And after the years of his involvement there, especially with Kane making his way into the Hall of Fame, my RBV pick for best celebrity involvement.
He was awesome.
WrestleMania.
He was awesome at Mania. I love Pete Rose. He said he was going to leave some tickets in Boston, but remember Buckner couldn't bend down and pick him up? Remember that?
Yes, absolutely. So there we go. All right, everybody. We'd like to thank you for joining us again here at the 10 Count. We have another exciting episode for you here shortly. But as we do each and every episode, we leave you with our pro wrestling pop of the week. Hey, and this one, don't be hating on me. To my queen out there, I let Paz pick this week. So this is what you get, a little stat comparison. Charlotte Flair and Andrade's marriage lasted 888 days. Roman Reigns, WWE Undisputed title reign lasted. I can't even see the damn number there, but you get it.
1316.
How about that right there? Damn, Paz, you are a heartless bastard. Char Char, I love you. I still love you, Charlotte. You are still